Hey guys, I'm an addict named Jason. And I'm grateful to be here and grateful to be clean. First things first, if you're new, I want to welcome you. I hope that you see something, that you hear something, or that you feel something that's going to encourage you to come back. If you're loaded, I'm glad you're here. And we ask that you keep coming back. All of us have gotten loaded. That's how we got here in the first place. Try to come clean, but it's better to come to the meeting loaded than not to come at all. Right? So we're glad you're here. I was so glad to get that message of love, too. Also, I want to share something else to you guys that are new, too. And the ones who have relapsed and come back. We love you, and we're glad you're here. I like what it says in our literature. It's old literature. It says that our disease does not discriminate. Why should Narcotics Anonymous? It says that we don't separate, age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion, or any of the lines that people use to separate themselves. We're all one in here. So that said, I welcome you all. I welcome the guy who's been here forever. I welcome the women who have showed up here. That's right. I welcome everybody. Because you know what? This disease doesn't. We're together. Now things are new. I was watching it, and one guy says, well, I identify as this and I identify as that. My daughter said, I want to be binary. Well, I want to tell you guys, I identify as an addict. And that's where it all lies. We're all the same in here. There's no big I's and little U's. I like what it says in our literature. I've heard when I got here, I've heard people tell me, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth. If we want to know how to use, we'll ask you to share. They said, work the steps or die. Get this. It doesn't say that in our literature. Nowhere. I think it might have came from attack therapy back in the 70s. You know what it says in our literature? Pain shared is pain lessened. It says in our literature that we bond and we form union when we share with others. So if you're new, please share. Grab someone and share with them what's really going on. I'm not talking about the weather. I'm talking about what's really going on. Because I never know who's going to be the one to save my life. And sometimes it's the newcomer who carries the message. We want to be there for the suffering addict. And sometimes the suffering addict is the person who's new, and sometimes the suffering addict is that woman with 29 years who just walked in the bathroom and saw her son OD. Or that guy with 25 years who just lost his house. Or the person who's going through the divorce. So we got to be there and love each other. This is the love fellowship. When I first got here, that's what they told me. They said, Jason, this is the love fellowship. And I went to shake hands, and they gave me a hug whether I wanted it or not. I want to say I appreciate all these hugs I've been getting outside there today. It's been real nice. But we love each other in here. That's what we do. And they said the topic was unconditional love, but I got news for you. If it ain't unconditional, it ain't love. I don't have to put the word unconditional because love is everything. If I place conditions on it, it's not love. And I find that with my kids. That's another story. But I don't want to talk about me, guys, because I got some stories I want to tell you. I got some powerful stuff I want to tell you because the topic is love. So I want to tell you some stories, and I'm going to keep them anonymous because the people that did it would want me to keep them anonymous. But I'm going to tell you some stories about love. See, because before we ever even had the first meeting of Narcotics Anonymous, there was love. That spirituals existed longer than Narcotics Anonymous. Love was there. Proof of it is, back in the 50s, there was a man that was going to meetings in Alcoholics Anonymous. And addicts couldn't relate, and addicts were suffering. He saw addicts couldn't stay clean. And he knew we had to do something different. So this man over in San Leandro started a meeting. It was actually called the San Leandro Meeting of Narcotics and Alcoholics Anonymous. But he started the meeting, and it became the first meeting in Narcotics Anonymous. That was done out of love because he loved those addicts. Matter of fact, I've read in our literature that addicts are the most loving and sensitive people in the world. And I believe that with all my heart. I think we're so sensitive to feelings. I think that's why we used in the first place, to fit in with this group because our feelings got hurt. I bet we were the biggest crybabies in elementary school. Anyway, so he did this out of love, and he started that meeting. A few years later, another man from Georgia went to a convention in San Francisco. I know this guy personally. He said, we need a big book like they have in the other fellowship. And who's doing that? And the guy from San Leandro Valley said, well, nobody's doing that. He said, well, who can do it? He goes, well, anybody can do it. And he said, oh, well, I'm anybody. So he became the world lit chair. And he started having meetings to write the basic text and went across the United States. By the way, that was an open participatory process. Anybody could come and put any literature. Matter of fact, there's a thing in the basic text that says you can't save your ass and your face at the same time. I've heard from several people that came from a girl with 90 days clean. Everyone in the room said, that's got to go in the book. After they completed that book, all those addicts who got together, they thought, we want to get this book and send it to every meeting in the world. But they didn't have much money. I mean, they were doing a lot of this stuff on their own dime. They knew that if they went to the blood bank and gave a pint of plasma, they could get $12, and it cost $12 for a roll of stamp. Follow me? $12 for a roll of stamps. Our predecessors loaded up in the van, went to the blood bank, and gave their blood so that we could have our literature. That's an act of love. I get goosebumps when I hear that story. Oh, and this was a big deal, because you know why? A lot of them were IV users. And to give their blood for that's a big deal. A few years later, down the road, in Florida, there was a man that got put in a nursing home. And his friends loved him. So what they did, they couldn't get the meeting in the nursing home, so they started Narcotics Anonymous phone line meetings, and that was the first Narcotics Anonymous phone line meetings, before the women in Chicago picked it up and ran with it. That ended up growing to be worldwide, the phone line meetings. Another act of love. Look, guys, love happens with individuals. A few years later, in Georgia, there was a kid, and the kid went to court, and he went to the judge, and the judge says, you can go to jail, or you can join the army. Well, he said, I'll join the army. He joined the army, and it wasn't long, and they shipped him overseas in the Middle East to the country of Oman, where he used those phone line meetings to help himself stay clean. Started some meetings over there. Not the first meetings in Oman, but he started some meetings over there. And another act of love, going over there and keeping it together. A few years after that, this is pretty recent history. There's a woman down in Los Angeles who went to South Africa, and they were hurting in South Africa. They needed literature. Some of you guys might even know it. It's called the NA Book Drive. This woman came fresh out of prison and didn't have much money or anything, but she started fundraisers for the NA Book Drive. And what happened is they started getting literature to those people in South Africa so that they could have meetings and have their basic text. That thing went worldwide. It wasn't much later that she got a call from the country of Yemen. And the country of Yemen said, we need some literature. We want to start meetings in Yemen. Well, the United States, this is recent now. The United States is at war with Yemen. We shipped the books over to Yemen, and they came back. Because we can't do anything with Yemen. So they shipped them over to the Netherlands, because Netherlands is a neutral country, to try to put them into Yemen. And they came back. But remember the guy who was over in Oman? Well, Oman borders Yemen like Mexico borders of the United States. So, and as a matter of fact, the guy from Georgia, that's one of his sponsors, we shipped the books over to him. They shipped the books over to him in Oman. And this, he's an addict, but I'm going to call him this badass. He loaded him up in his car and took him across the war zone and brought him into the country of Yemen so that they could have Narcotics Anonymous meetings. Now get this. All those things are acts of love. If you're in here and you're sitting here and you really see this, then you have that love in you because you spot it, you got it. You follow me? It's not my job to start Narcotics Anonymous, but it's my job to keep this thing going. So you can go out right now and share this love with others. That's right. You can just share this love with others. Matter of fact, today's act of love is tomorrow's history. For you that are new, you newcomers that are here, I don't care if you've been in and out in the program for 30 years and you're here today, your tomorrow's history, your tomorrow's sponsors. Matter of fact, who knows? You could be my sponsor tomorrow. You know what I mean? Just keep coming back. We share this love and we share it with each other. Because get this. That guy who went to Yemen, he didn't even ask for a t-shirt or gas money. He did it out of love. And he wouldn't have been able to do that had the woman not had those books and sent them to him. He wouldn't have been able to do that had the guy that was stationed over in Yemen not given him in the very beginning, got him clean, read his fifth step, and went there and started meetings in Yemen. He wouldn't have been clean had it not been for the phone lines. The phone lines wouldn't have been around had it not been for those guys donating blood and the addicts who went around from city to city and the guy who started writing our book. And that wouldn't have been around had we not started the first Narcotics Anonymous meeting. So this love is contagious. It's like a ripple. And that's what we do here in Narcotics Anonymous. We love each other. And that's what I love about NA. Is that we do this thing together. This is a we program. Every single step starts with we. But the traditions are all about us loving each other. I'm talking about everybody, no matter what. So, if you come in here and you're going to introduce yourself as being clean and sober, we love you and we're glad you're here. Keep coming back. If you come from another fellowship, we love you. We're glad you're here. Keep coming back. If you're going to talk about Jesus, Buddha, Allah, or Satan, we love you. Keep coming back. You follow me? If you've got loaded for the last 30 years, we're glad you're here. We love you. Keep coming back because that's what Narcotics Anonymous is. All of our principles, caring, sharing, patience, kindness, tolerance, acceptance, everything is surrounded in love. We love each other in here. This is the love fellowship. This is the we program. This is what we do together. We love each other in here, no matter what. I've seen some terrible things happen in here. And I hate to say it, I have. I get on Facebook a few years ago, and I saw people in Narcotics Anonymous unfriend other members of Narcotics Anonymous because of who they voted for. What the fuck? I mean, like, we really thought about that shit when we were locked in the bathroom for 30 years? You know what I mean? Seriously. We love each other. You know, we do this thing together. That person that we fought with in the business meeting because we don't agree with each other, we love each other in here. We don't, look, it doesn't say that we agree. It doesn't talk about uniformity. It talks about unity, not uniformity. As a matter of fact, it says in our literature, our diversity is our strength. I remember being at a meeting once, and I was arguing with the guy. He had a couple more years clean time with me. He was right. You follow me? I didn't understand. I just got to be here. I got to be present. When we leave here, we want to hug each other. And I don't mean just hug the good-looking ones that come out of the treatment center all showered and shit like that. You know, it's easy to hug them. I'm talking about stinky. You know, the guy who just slept behind the trash can because he had his lunch over there at Applebee's down the street in the trash. Hasn't bathed in 5 days. That's because he's lucky. Some of them haven't bathed in longer than that. But you know what I'm saying? We need to hug that guy and welcome that guy. Because you want to know what the truth is? Is that's me. That's you. That's all of us. The things that we do and the things that we share affect other people around us. That's why we have a ninth and a 10th step, because we can affect others. But you know what? This is the love fellowship. You guys have been loving me ever since I got here. I remember when I didn't have a car because it got repoed when I first got clean. I wrecked it before it got repoed, but and I said, man, I need a ride to a meeting. They gave me a ride. I said, how much do I owe you for gas? They said, you don't owe me nothing for gas, but when you get a car, you help other addies get to meetings. That's how we do it up in here, man. We love each other. You guys taught me that from the very beginning. You love me. You say, we're going to love you until you can learn how to love yourself. That's Narcotics Anonymous. We open up walls in here and we share. We tear walls down. I've heard people come in here and say, I don't know, man, that guy keeps getting loaded. I gotta keep away from him because I don't want to harm myself. I'm setting up healthy barriers. Well, I got some news for you. You may not agree with me, but you can leave that treatment center bullshit at the door. We don't have healthy barriers. We've been building barriers all our lives. What we need to do is love each other and welcome each other, because that's what was done for us, no matter what. When I shared stupid shit, you know what you guys told me? Keep coming back. I thought you liked what I shared. It doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. I was in a meeting over in this prison. I go to the meeting. We're no different. There's no big eyes and little U's in Narcotics Anonymous. We're all the same in here. Remember I said we don't separate? That includes clean time, right? We're all the same in here. But anyway, I was at this meeting in the prison, and I go in as an addict. And I'm sitting there in the meeting, and this one dude says to me, he goes, Jason, I like that shirt. I had a shirt. It said clean in big letters on the back, and it said Jason with my clean date on it. This guy had been in there for 25 years. I said, listen, brother, I said, when you get out of here, you hook me up. Look me up on Facebook, and I'll buy you a shirt like this. He said, I got a date. I said, oh, damn, I'm going to have to buy a shirt. About 6 months later, he called me, and he'd gotten out. You know what he asked me, right, guys? Where's my shirt, right? I said, where are you at? He says, I'm in Compton. He was living in Compton down there in, I think it was Compton. He was living there down there in Los Angeles. Not the best area of Los Angeles, for sure. And it just so happened that he called me late May, and my daughter's birthday was in June. It was her 18th birthday. And my daughter wanted to shop those stores down there in Los Angeles. There's called like Doll Skill and all this fucking crazy shit that these little teenagers will know. Maybe some of you youngsters will know what that is. Supreme and that stuff. She wanted to go down there shopping, so I took my daughter down here to go shopping. And I called him up in the morning, on Saturday morning, when they were getting ready to go shopping. I said, hey man, I'm in town. You want to go to a meeting? He goes, yeah. He said, it's going to be my first meeting on the outside. I said, okay, I'll come pick you up. I looked in the schedule, and there happened to be a meeting at the clubhouse over on Central Avenue, not far from Compton. And Crenshaw Boulevard, that's where he was, on Crenshaw Boulevard. Anyway, I picked him up. I brought him his shirt. I had my shirt, he had his shirt. We drove over to the meeting, and as we were driving to the meeting, the man says to me, he goes, I don't know, Jason, I don't know about this, man. I don't know if I can do this. I said, what do you mean? I said, we're going to a meeting in Narcotics Anonymous. He said, no, man. He goes, this is where I did my life crime, right in the same neighborhood. He goes, I'm getting nervous and I'm scared. I don't know if I can do this. I said, it's okay. We do this together. We're going to be okay. We're going to get there. So we went to this meeting, right? And when we're in this meeting, he kept looking across the room and staring at this other dude and saying, man, I know that guy from somewhere. I don't know where I know him from, but I know that guy from somewhere. At the end of the meeting, you know, they give out the key tags. It was his first key tag. He got a multiple-year key tag because he got 7 years clean in the pen. He got his multiple-year key tag. First key tag, multiple years. You should have seen the tears in his eyes. Man, it was so fucking great. You know what I mean? It was great. After the meeting, he walked over to that other guy. He said, man, I know you from somewhere. Where do I know you? He goes, man, I'm another lifer. We did time together in Soledad. And here we are in a meeting in Narcotics Anonymous on Central Avenue in Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying? But the story gets better because after that, they asked me if I would come down and share for their September, it's that Labor Day event or whatever. And I said, yeah, I'll come down and share at the Labor Day event. So I called my buddy and I said, hey man, come on down. I'm going to share down there. I'd love to be able to see you again. Are you staying clean? He said, not only am I staying clean, he goes, I'm the GSR. Yeah! You know what, I got to share this too. Sometimes when I go into those facilities, some of those people that are locked up in facilities have more freedom than people on the outside. Stay clean in there, and you can. He said, I'm the GSR. He said, but I can't go because I got to work. You got a job too, man. So you got anything you want me to tell the guys over at the pen? He said, yeah, go back and tell them I made my own breakfast this morning. I showed up. He had traded somebody, and he was there. He was sitting there in the front row in an NA shirt. Not the NA shirt that I got him. He had his own NA shirt made. It had NA in big letters like this, all the way across his chest, in rhinestones. You could see it from a mile away. It was reflecting off his gold teeth. It was happening. I can't share with you how grateful that makes me feel. I can't share with you the bonds and the love that I get. The basic text says love is only potential unless you share it with another addict. So we need to love each other. You know, we don't. I was at another meeting just recently. Okay, I got to wrap it up. I'll share this real quick. I was at another meeting this recently. I was sharing. This was a meeting that was a Palestinian meeting in Farsi. I had Jewish friends that went to that meeting. The countries are at war, but in Narcotics Anonymous, there was nothing but love. You see what I mean? That's NA. I got to wrap this up, but this is the way I love to wrap this up because I got something that I want to share with you. Because we read at the beginning of the meeting who's an addict. But how about this one? Who is a recovering addict? Most of us don't have to think twice about this question. We know. Our whole life in thinking is centered in NA in one form or another. The getting and searching and finding ways and means to love more. We live to love, and we love to live. Very simply, a recovering addict is a man or a woman whose life is controlled by a loving God. We are people living in a continued reality we're people living in the reality of a continuing and progressive recovery whose ends are always the same. Happy, joyous, and free. Thanks for letting me share.